Well, hello, beautiful people. Today I'm here to share with you my favorite books of the year. Thus far, the year is not done, but I will say, I feel like this has been the year of horror for me. I have, for some reason, been very attracted to horror novels. We're doing this in no particular order. Let's dive in. I've gone down quite a lovely little rabbit hole with Peter Swanson this year, starting with The Kind Worth Killing. I have read him before and have always enjoyed his books. This book blew me away. I was hooked. It has despicable people in here. And for some reason, you are going to be rooting for them. Or at least I was. What that says about me, I don't know. This follows two people, Ted and Lily. They meet at an airport bar. They start drinking together, they start talking to one another, and Ted opens up about how his marriage is just going down the tubes. It looks like his wife is cheating on him. And Lily says, hey, you know what? You should probably kill her. And he's like, yes, haha. But it becomes clear over the course of their drink, over the course of the plane ride, that she means it, and he actually might think that was a great idea. So you follow what happens from there, but you also go back in Lily's childhood and find out how you become someone who suggests that a wife might be the kind worth killing. Incredible character development in a thriller. Oh my goodness. I've read the second book from that series as well, and I just got the third book. So wonderful. A nonfiction book that I really enjoyed is Atomic Habits, Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. This is self-help, but also self-help that's actually very, very helpful. Like, gives you step-by-step things to do. I have taken the suggestions in this book, which basically breaks down what motivates you to do things and how to stop doing things and how to start doing things in very practical ways. So I actually have created a page on my Notion that essentially helps me to break habits and start habits and walks me through the steps. So I love this book. Practical. I often will read self-help and get to the end and be like, that was so, motivating, but I don't know what to do next. Atomic Habits, it's just all there for you. Next is a book that I listened to on audio that was incredible. It was called Death of a Bookseller. This follows a group of booksellers. They all work at the same bookstore. The bookstore isn't doing very well. They have brought people in from like head office to help try to boost sales. We follow a woman who is extremely obsessed with true crime. Like, very obsessed. She only wants to talk about true crime. She's created a true crime area in the bookstore, and she stumbles upon a woman's bag who has come from head office. And this woman has, I think, I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara in her bag. And so she's like, my goodness, we're going to be best friends. I'm so excited. And that woman does not want to be friends. Our main character is just like not very likable. I'm trying to remember her name. Is it Roach? I think her name was Roach. At least her last name, and people called her by that name. And Roach is just obsessed with this woman, and she can't get it out of her mind that they're going to be best friends. There's a very good reason that this woman does not like Roach, and also there's a very good reason that this woman studies true crime, but is not delighted by true crime in any way, shape, or form. This thriller is like a literary thriller. We are really studying, what does true crime really do? Is it harmful to women? And it approaches this argument through a series of characters, and it was just wonderful. It's funny at times, but also extremely sad at times, and I loved every second of it. Nestlings is next. This follows a couple living in New York. They have a baby, and during childbirth, The mother has suffered a terrible injury and she is now wheelchair bound. And trying to find places in New York is difficult. They want a big enough place for their family. They want it to be relatively inexpensive, and also it needs to have wheelchair access. They stumble upon a great apartment. Actually, their apartment is offered to them. Years and years ago, they had entered a lottery, and the name never came up, but they've just come up, and the rent is cheap. It's wheelchair accessible. Like, it seems perfect for them, so they do move in. And then soon after moving in, strange things start happening to their baby and surrounding their baby, and their baby starts acting strangely as well. There's like little bite marks being found on their child. It's very disturbing. The people in the building itself seem very, nice, but strange. And there's a lot of quiet, like an odd kind of quiet in the building. This creeped me out in the best of ways, and it explores motherhood and postpartum depression. It just was such a feminist book, and this is written by a man, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I will read anything by Nat Cassidy now. My Husband is next, and probably one of the strangest books I've read. This is about a woman who is obsessed with her husband, and the obsession is down to every detail. She listens to everything he says, and everything he says seems to have a lot of meaning to her. So, for example, her husband has always said, like, I cannot sleep with the curtains open. Cannot. It just doesn't work for me. We've got to have the curtains closed. And so she spent years of her marriage and her life sleeping with the curtains closed, and she doesn't like it, but she does it for him. And one evening in the middle of the night, she opens the curtains and sees what effect that has on him. And she finds out that he does sleep with the curtains open, and that she now thinks that he's lied to her. And he's like done something terrible to her. Like, this is the level of obsession that she has with him. And it's extremely disturbing, but also incredibly entertaining. The end of this book had my jaw on the floor. I did not see it going the way that it went. And I'm so thrilled that I read that. We have 3 more books left, and the next is Nightwatching. Oh, this was such an atmospheric book and high tension. This follows a woman who is home alone with her kids, and she is tucking her son back into bed, and she sees down the hall the figure of a man. It's not her husband. She knows that. Her husband's out of town. Can't be him. So she realizes she has an intruder in the house, and she needs to save her children and get them away. So she takes her children, goes into her husband's office, and there is a tiny secret area, like not secret room. It's not a big room. It's just like almost a cupboard kind of thing. And she goes in there with them, closes the door, and they're waiting it out. And they can hear this man going through the house, calling out to them. And she's just trying to survive with her kids. Absolutely terrifying. I haven't felt like, it's like your heart is racing reading that book. Boys in the Valley is next. This is a horror book about a group of boys who live at an orphanage. It is led by the church, and they seem to all get along fairly well. They're mostly treated well by the priests there. One night, there's a knock at the door, and I think the sheriff and a few police officers come in with a man who is very, very injured. And you discover that this man had participated along with other people in a terrible crime of murder. And yet the sheriff wants to save this person because it's his brother. That all doesn't work out very well. There's an upheaval, and soon after that event, the boys in this school start acting strangely. At least some of them do. Some of them start going into corners and whispering to each other and start acting oddly with the other boys, and they're getting more violent with the other boys and taunting. It is incredibly disturbing and unsettling, but I loved every second of it. It was really, really great. And then the last book is a book that I just finished reading called Summer of Night by Dan Simmons. This is one of those books that, like, if you liked It by Stephen King, you should read Summer of Night. If you struggled with It by Stephen King, which I did because of that scene, if you know, you know, you should read Summer of Night. I really loved the characters. It takes place in the 60s. You're following a group of boys, you know, enjoying their summer. However, evil descends upon their town, and they feel like it is in them and their duty to fight the evil because no one else will, and they will do it. Definitely some very scary scenes, and yet also cozy, strangely, because you are watching them also have like a childhood summer in the midst of the oddness of fighting evil. And like, I felt like I was walking through their bedrooms and on their front porch playing Monopoly with them. Like I felt like I was there. So in that way, it felt very atmospheric. So really, really liked that one. I think there's a second in this series, and it follows one of the boys when they grow up and become a priest. And I might read that actually at some point. Those are all of the books that I have read this year and that I just really loved. I don't know how many of them are going to end up on my like favorite books of the year at the end when we reconvene in like early January, maybe late December. But I can recommend all of these to you. I really urge you to enjoy them, especially if you like the creepy things in life like I do. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and let me know in the comments below, like, top 3 books that you have read this year. I always love getting your recommendations. And also, have you read any of the books that I'm talking about in this video? I'd love to know what you thought of them. I'll talk with you soon. Bye, guys.